Proverbs 11 verse 15. Whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer, but whoever refuses to shake the hands in a pledge is safe. Okay, I'm going to go into details about something, okay? Hi guys. This message may ruffle some feathers and, it may make some people upset, but I have to be truthful and I have to be honest. And I do have another prophetic word that's similar to this that I'm going to post after. I feel like they connect, but there are two different circumstances. Like, there are two different scenarios, but it falls into the same category, I should say. Okay? So they can connect. One of them I received about a week ago, and God brought something back to my attention early this morning, probably like 2 a.m.-ish, around there. And then the other prophetic word that I'm going to speak on right now, I received a dream, a very detailed dream about something. So I'm going to give you the confirmation, okay? But, it's okay to not always be eager to help everybody. I mean, we are supposed to help people. We are supposed to be support for people, but not everybody. You're not everyone's destiny helper. Sometimes there's someone else that God may use, and sometimes there's a time frame. And a lot of the times people based on what they want, what they desire, they may go out of their way to do things or go out of their way to say things, but we don't know the situation behind it all. We don't know the story behind it all. We don't know why someone is in the predicament that they're in. We don't even know if the person is actually going through a wilderness period in that moment, right? And this is where it's so important that you pray to God for everything that you do. Even when it comes to like either sowing a seed to someone, even when it comes to giving to someone, you see what I'm saying? Or even taking from someone. Like, it's so important to pray to God about everything that you do. Because a lot of us, being children of God, we have big hearts. We have kind hearts. And a lot of us, we give freely. We don't need anything back. We don't ask for anything back. We are free givers. We just give. We love wholeheartedly. And sometimes people take advantage of that. They can take advantage of that. And because people know that you're kind, you may see someone in need and they say, hey, can I have this? Can I get this? And you may be so quick to give it to them, but you don't understand the situation behind it. What you may not understand is they may have been going through a wilderness period, or God may want them to solely trust on Him. You see what I'm saying? And God may have even stripped them of everything they had, like a Job moment, in order for them to learn, in order for them to pray, in order for them to repent, in order for them to make changes. And because the person is refusing to make these changes, and they don't want to pray, and they don't want to fast, and they're refusing to comply to God's instructions, they may still be stuck in their situation or whatever they're going through, and their way of coping with it, or their way of dealing with it, is asking people for things and going from person to person to person to person, asking each person for money or asking each person for something, and they're not even complying to the things that God has told them to comply to. So you being on the other end, you may be like, okay, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you a loan. I'm going to give you this loan, or I'm going to give you this money. Here's $500. Here's $300. Here's $200. But this person has been asking people consistently for like 3 months straight, and they refuse to follow God's instructions. God may have told them what to do, or where to go to find a job, or where to go to receive employment, or God may have told them go back to school, or God may have given them specific instructions. Hey, I need you to fast. Hey, I need you to pray. I need you to let go of this sin, or I need you to let go of this person, or I need you to stop watching porn, or stop drinking, or stop smoking, or stop doing drugs, or I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And God may have given them specific instructions, and they're not complying to any of God's instructions, so it's hard for them to receive their breakthrough. And because they're not receiving their breakthrough, they're taking it upon themselves to ask people, and because you're a kind-hearted person or you're a child of God, you may be like, okay, I'm going to give it to you. But now you're enabling their disobedience. Do you see where I'm going with this? Now you're enabling that. Now you're putting yourself in debt. You're taking someone's debt upon yourself, and now you may suffer, because what you don't understand is in that moment when you gave someone something and you thought it was from the goodness of your heart, which it is, right? What you may not understand is that went up against God's instructions for that person. And you may not understand that. I know this for a fact. I know this for a fact because in the far past, I remember I was giving to someone before I like started my like ministry and stuff. And I was giving to someone, and God kept showing me the person and vision, and he kept telling me, no, stop it, no more, don't give no more. And I'm like, God, aren't I supposed to give to people? And he said, no, you're not supposed to give to that particular person. And I didn't understand why God told me not to give to them, but it was because God gave them instructions and told them something specific they're supposed to do, and they were disobedient. So now me giving to them was enabling that behavior, enabling that disobedience. And then everybody else that they were going to and asking for money was enabling their disobedience. And not only that, but God may also know their heart towards you. God may also know that you enabling this is not putting them in that position to where they can finally go out there and make something of themselves. What you're doing now is you're giving them a band-aid for their issue by enabling bad behavior. And you may not know it's bad behavior because you may just be kind in the heart. So like I said, it's going to ruffle some feathers, because everyone thinks that, if someone's hungry or thirsty, give to them. The Bible says that. Yeah, the Bible says that. If your enemy's hungry, yes. If your enemy's thirsty, yes. But when you can hear the voice of God and you could see in the spirit and he's telling you not to do something, there's a reason why. If that was the case, many of you guys would still be in relationships where people were using you. You'd still be around the same toxic family members. You'd still be around the same toxic people who took advantage of you. There's a reason why God removed you from people like that. Why? Because they were taking advantage of you. They did not love you. They mistreated you. So if God can remove you from people who treated you that way and did that to you, why would he not tell you not to give to someone who is being disobedient, who is refusing to repent, who is not doing what they're supposed to be doing? See, so there's certain circumstances that, you get what I'm saying, that God will tell you to do the opposite of what you think that he would want you to do. And he will show you proof. And you see what I'm saying? And the reason I'm saying this is because I had this really crazy prophetic dream, and it was very prophetic. But he taught me a lesson in this dream. I was with my children, and we were out in public. And this man came up to me, and this man was like, oh, can I get some money? Can I borrow some money? And I'm like, oh, you don't have to borrow it. I'll just give it to you. He said, okay. So we ended up going to get some food. And then I ended up going to meet up with the guy. And when I went to meet up with the guy, right, he was coming off the phone. And he was on the phone with someone. But on the phone, he was talking to these people. And he was basically like, oh, did you get the bottle? Okay, I'm coming over. I'm coming. We're going to, so he was basically asking if they got the bottle because he was going to go drink with them and party with them and all of that. And what ended up happening was he didn't know that I overheard the conversation he was having on the phone. So when I turned my back, I saw him going to my car. And as he went into my car, he was trying to search my car. And I'm like, what are you doing in my car? Like, he was searching things, looking for documents and all of that stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing in my car? And then he came out my car and, and I'm like, get out my car. So I'm like, come with me to the bank. Let's go get some money for you. That's what I said to him. And we were walking to the bank. And as we're walking to the bank, right, I heard the Holy Spirit whisper to me and said, don't give him a drive. Don't drive him in your car. And I knew right away that was a warning because I already just caught him searching my car. So I knew that was a warning, right? And so we ended up going to the bank. I'm like, oh, it's not going to be a bad idea for me to give him money. I think God wouldn't mind me giving him money. Like I'm going to give him some money. Even though I heard him drinking, I'm like, he's probably going to go drink with the money or he's probably going to do something with the money. But me being kind, like when you give people money on the street, you don't think anything of it. You think of it like, okay, I'm helping you. Whatever you choose to do with it, that's between you and God. That's how you think of it. But it's like if you knew about what someone was gonna do with the money, you wouldn't enable it, right? Like if you knew they were gonna buy drugs or they're gonna buy alcohol, you wouldn't enable it. But because you don't know, you just say to yourself, okay, whatever you choose to do with it, that's between you and God. But if you knew what they were gonna do, you probably wouldn't enable that behavior. You probably wouldn't, support it, right? So in the dream, after I did hear him say on the phone, like he was gonna, get a bottle, and he asked the other person if they got a bottle and all that, I wasn't thinking in my mind like, oh, maybe he's gonna use the money and buy more stuff. I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking like, oh, let me just help him, But now I know not to let him in my car because he's searching my car. He's gonna try to steal something, or he's gonna try to get information or something. So I just saw that car situation as the warning. I didn't see anything else as the warning. So we walked to the bank. As I was trying to take out money to give to him, right, he kept trying to figure out my bank password. Like he was trying to watch me type in my bank password. So I kept trying to hide, and I'm like, why do you keep trying to look at my password? He kept turning his head, but every time I'm typing it in, I turn around, he's looking, and then he turns his head away. So he was trying to like figure out like what the bank password was, right? So I saw that as another red flag, and I'm like, okay, another red flag. So now he's hiding, like he's turning his back around. So I'm fully typing in my password now, and he's not looking anymore. But I already knew that he saw the password, because as I typed in the password the last time, the full password showed up on the screen, and there was nothing hidden. Before, when I was typing it in, it was hidden. All of a sudden it showed up on the screen, and that was God revealing to me that he already knew what the password was. Like he already saw it. So I was like, man, I've changed my password now. So when I tried to take out the money, all of a sudden the machine broke down. I'm like, okay, the machine broke down. Okay. So the teller comes up to me, and when she comes up to me, she comes up to the machine. She's like, are you having any trouble? I'm like, yeah, the machine broke down. She's like, you can use the other machine over there. And then she looked at me and she was like, you're honest. I'm like, what? Excuse me? She's like, you're an honest person. You're a good person. You're an honest person. I'm like, oh yeah. And she's like, I know your ancestry background. And she mentioned somewhere in Africa where like my ancestors are from. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even know this. She's like, yeah. So she was prophesying to me. I didn't even know she was prophesying to me. But God used her. Like, she was an angel. And she was letting me know, like, God sees... She was talking to me. She's like, God sees your heart. God knows you're a good person. You're a genuine person. But she was also trying to, like, hint to me, like, but not all the time do you have to give to people and help to people because they ask. Like, sometimes it's God intervening. Like, that's what she was basically saying as she went into another conversation. And she was trying to say it, but she was talking in code. She was talking in code because she didn't want the guy to hear. And I'm like, okay. So I went to the other machine, and I basically went against what she was saying, even though I knew what she was trying to say. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to help him. Right? So I went to the other machine, and all of a sudden, when I put my card in the other machine, something came on the screen. It said network error. Like, it literally said, like, you cannot take out any money because the bank is having a network error. And I looked at the woman, and she looked at me, and she was like, I told you, basically, like, I told you kind of thing, right? So as I was leaving now, I'm like, oh, I can't get you the money. I'm so sorry. I've tried everything in my power to get you the money, and I couldn't get you the money. I'm sorry. And he looked frustrated, like he looked angry. And then, because when you go buy food, you can buy with a debit card, right? So I ended up getting him food instead, so I can use my actual debit card, and it went through. But when it came to me taking out money to give him to buy whatever he wanted to buy, it wasn't working. You see what I'm saying? So then one of my children, because I have my kids are with me, one of my children came and said, Mom, it's not time for his breakthrough. That's what my child said to me, like, it's not time for his breakthrough. And I was like, what? But he didn't say that in front of him. He said that like silently. And I'm like, wow, I had like three confirmations with the car, God, the Holy Spirit coming in telling me not to let drive him in my car. And then, because he had sneaky motives, sneaky intentions, right? He was trying to search things, right? And then he was trying to sneak and figure out my bank password on the machine, and then this angel who was disguised as a bank teller came and started hinting to me like, you know, you're not always supposed to help people that ask you to help them. And then my child came to me and said, Mom, it's not time for his breakthrough. And then I woke up out of my dream, and then I was like, whoa, this is deep. And then I went to church today and my pastor was talking about, like, you know, the situation with Daniel meeting the king. And remember how the king was asking all these people to interpret a dream for him, but Daniel was the only one to interpret the dream. And remember how the king had to stop his ways, his wickedness. The king had to let go of his lifestyle and serving multiple gods. And remember how the king had to make some serious changes and serve God, and how God had to strip everything from the king, and he had to go through a whole wilderness period, and he had to obey God in order for God to restore everything. So all Daniel did was help him interpret the dream, but Daniel never intervened with the wilderness period. Daniel just gave him the message, and then, you know, so when my pastor was talking about Daniel and how we have to trust God and we have to rely on God, and how we don't bring our own miracles in our life, God brings our miracles in our life. So yes, God will use people to bring his miracles in other people's lives, but sometimes it's not the right time. You know what I mean? So when my pastor was talking about trusting God, I was like, wow, God, everything is clicking. And I just want to say, like, even though you have a big heart and you want to help people, you have to understand that sometimes you enabling bad behaviors without realizing, or sometimes you choosing to, you know, help someone when it's not right, it's not the time for them to be helped, or you may not be the person that God is going to use, but they come to you and ask you, you have to pray and ask God, this person came to me and asked me for this, should I give it to them? And you have to wait for him to respond before you give, or before you do what it is they need, because sometimes it's them coming to you and asking you because they don't want it, they don't trust God. Sometimes they don't trust God. Sometimes they're trying to avoid a wilderness period. Sometimes it's because they're doing certain things that God is not agreeing to, and they're refusing to change. And you may be enabling their behavior without even realizing you're enabling their behavior by giving to them. You may be intervening with their wilderness period, with their wilderness season, without even realizing that you're intervening with that. Sometimes the person may very well be going through a Job situation, and they may have very well cursed God because of their situation, and now you're taking on that debt by giving them something after they've cursed God, after they've been disobedient to God. You see what I'm saying? So it's always important to pray and ask God before you just consistently want to give or help or do this and do that. Because sometimes, you know, people don't have good intentions. One, that guy didn't have good intentions when he was trying to search my car and trying to figure my banking password. So very much what God was showing to me is the person you're trying to help is the very person that will steal from you, will rob you. You see what I'm saying? You wouldn't even realize that because your heart's so big. So I had to send an angel to intervene, to talk to you in code, and you weren't getting the point. So now I have to use your child to talk to you for you to get the point. You know what I mean? So I wanted to share that with you guys. I know it may ruffle some feathers, but I want to share that with you guys because we all had to go through our wilderness period, including myself. There was times where like I had nothing and I couldn't ask anyone for anything. You have to remember that there may be some people who have asked their families, their friends, and a bunch of people for money or help, and they may have received it, yet they could have very well, deceived these very people who gave to them, and now they see you as the next person to ask, and you just being someone that has no idea what's going on, you may innocently see it as someone just asking for help, not realizing that now you're about to take on something that's heavy. You get what I'm saying? Like you're literally taking on a debt that you don't need to be involved with, right? So I want to give you this confirmation, and this taught me something too, because I have a big heart, so it taught me something too. Anyways, I love you guys. I'm going to give you the next prophetic word about something that God spoke to me about a week ago, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.